Our next speaker is Mike Slattery. As adults, along with the religious reason, we teach young children that December 25th, Christmas Day, is the day that Santa Claus comes down the chimney and deposits gifts by a Christmas tree. How does that morbidly obese man fit down such a narrow opening? On this same day, we also say Santa delivers millions of gifts to households in just a 24-hour time period. How can that be done? Federal Express, UPS, and the U.S. Post Office combined couldn't even do that. Are we lying to children just to promote our economy through our gluttonous purchases of items that only help the bottom line of retailers? Or are we promoting the loss of our children's trust? Some of us say the reason we lie to our children is because it challenges them to be good during the time of year. Mike's speech this morning takes a look at some of the consequences that occur around this time of year. Please welcome with me a 6 to 8 minute speech by Mike Slattery, Santa Claus, Balderdash. Mike Slattery.
Okay, how many of you have heard the word balderdash and understand the meaning? Our professor. If we were to take a look at the Webster's definition, balderdash is a single word, nonsense. Santa Claus, nonsense. It was the fall of 1951, Thanksgiving weekend, when we had a huge snowstorm. So all of my friends went outside and we rolled up the snow to make a snow fort, because what we were going to do is we were going to have snowball fights and a place to hide so we wouldn't get hit. And because of this energy that my four friends and I had, we started talking about Christmas, because it was coming up a month from now. And we found out, or I found out, from a friend of mine, that because I wanted a bike from Santa Claus wasn't real. And I said, now that's not right, because for the past 8 years, when I got up on Christmas morning, there were always gifts under the tree. He said, yeah, but you got to realize Santa Claus is your mom and dad. And with that, my jaw dropped. I said, that can't be. He said, yes, it is. Santa Claus is your mom and dad. Well, that shook me. So I ran home. My mother was downstairs in the laundry room, and I yelled, hey, Mom! Tommy says Santa Claus is you and Dad. There was dead silence. And I heard my mother walk up the stairs. And as she got to the top of the stairs, there were 2 little tears coming down. And she asked me to sit down. And she said, you know, Mike, that is true. And I think the reason my mother was so emotionally upset was because she saw her little boy now growing into a boy and realizing the reality of life. Santa Claus is mom and dad. Well, she explained to me the whole story of how they know you're good or bad and what you want. It really isn't some spiritual person that's going to come down. Now, at the time, I was going to a Catholic school, and my mother asked me, please, when you go back to class next week, don't tell your friends. Well, that was the beginning of my rebellious part of my life. I get back to school, and I start telling my friends, Santa Claus isn't real. And you know what? I'm telling the truth. I got punished for telling the truth. Now here I am for the last 3 years being told that we have to tell the truth and be good and yada yada yada. So I ended up doing penance for for telling the truth. Man, you know, as youth, we have an open computer disk, and everything that we get comes from our parents. And then when we find out what is the truth, ding, 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 all of a sudden we can't believe them. The trust is gone. Santa Claus, Balderdash. The myth of this lie is taken to the utmost height by retailers. This July, I was sitting on the couch, going to watch a baseball game, and my lovely wife decided to click the clicker, and we went to QVC. And all of a sudden, she says, "You have to see this." And I said, "Well, what is it?" And what it was, they were selling Christmas trees in July with all of the bulbs and the lights and everything, and I'm going, holy mackerel, when is this going to end? It's July. We're 6 months, 5 months away from Christmas, and you're selling already. And now, this time of the year, I hear Kmart, Walmart, Costco, all of these different stores are open on Thanksgiving Day. A day for the family, a day to be together, so that they can get a jump on the sales of all of their goods. Once again, they have taken this entire myth of Santa Claus to a new height. And when is it going to stop? I believe it's going to stop when we as parents or grandparents tell our children and grandchildren, yes, this is part of the season, but it's not the reason for the season. The reason for the season was the birth of Jesus Christ. The spiritual part. That's what we have to tell the children. And we can also tell them that part of this season, where we give gifts, presents to one another, is the material part of the season. So there are two parts. There's the spiritual part, there's the material part. We have to not lie. Santa Claus, Balderdash. Adam Toastman.
Thank you, Mr. Slattery. Madam Timer, if we could have 1 minute to provide your comments from us. On a side note, I walk in my neighborhood every day with my dog. And yesterday I was walking and saw a guy, a fairly heavy-set guy with a red zip-up sweater and a Santa hat, and he was taking out the trash. And for about a split second, I was like, Santa! And I waved and he waved. So Santa does in fact live on the corner of Central and Palm.
Madam Postmaster, briefly to share this, the Redlands Mall used to have an actual guy who looked like Santa Claus. He was short, he was fat, long white hair, long beard. There was a little boy who sat in his lap who was very reticent, and he reached out and he pulled on the beard and he poked him in the belly, and all he could say is, "Damn, you are